Hi guys, so before we get into it, a quick disclaimer that there will be some spoilers today, although given that I didn't fully understand the plot of this movie, I reckon that such occurrences will be kind of vague in nature. So I watched the third Hell House the other night and I found it to easily be the most disappointing of the franchise so far. This one tries to circle back around to the first movie to kind of tie things off in a neat trilogy. I know they went on to make a fourth and a fifth movie, but at the time that this one was made, I reckon this was writer-director Stephen Cognetti's thinking trilogy. The trouble is, by making this one almost a carbon copy of the original, it's not very satisfying because we've kind of seen it all before, and actually just repeating the first movie doesn't really make a lot of sense to me anyway. So to give you more about the plot, we've got this millionaire entrepreneur called Russell Wynn who buys the Abaddon Hotel at some point after the events of the second film, and he wants to do a play inside this hotel. I guess it will run for quite a few nights. So he moves loads of actors into the place, loads of production design people, and they start setting things up for opening night. But we find out quite early on that opening night was a complete disaster, just like the opening night of the Halloween Haunt from the first movie. There was chaos and murder. But we are now watching events in the past move towards opening night of the play, through the lens of a documentary where we get interview clips and various bits of camcorder footage. So the structure of the film is exactly like the first movie, but it just feels like we've seen it all before. I didn't understand when I was watching this why characters were allowed to go in and out of the hotel with abandon without getting killed, because it was clearly established in the second film that the hotel had reached a point where it was just killing anybody who went in. The doors would auto-lock, and if you were caught on the inside, you were dead meat. But now in the third one, we've gone back to how it was in the original, where people can go in and out and they won't get killed. Now, there is sort of an explanation at the end of the third film as to why this is, but that didn't stop me from feeling irritated about this lack of consistency all the way through the runtime of this one. It just rankled with me. I didn't like it. I think they would have been better off copying the second movie again rather than the first movie again. You just can't go back to that same set of circumstances with the first film and for it to make sense, whereas they could have had just more people turning up at the hotel for the third film and getting trapped inside, same as the characters did in the second one. But if you consider that when the first film's happening, the people who are creating the haunt, they don't know what's to come. They're completely in the dark. So when you're watching the footage of them setting up the place, it's spooky because they're getting embroiled in events that nobody else has experienced. But when you get to the third film, all these people, all these actors, the director, everybody, they know what the history of the hotel is. They know about the Halloween Haunt. They know about the other people who went missing in the second film. And yet they're happy to now be in this place and go about their business. And even when they witness supernatural things for themselves, they still carry on and just expect nobody to get killed. So it just doesn't quite fit that you can just have another commercial enterprise happening in this hotel. It just really irked me. I think what they should have done if they were going to make a third movie is set it in a completely different hotel. So have it explained in the story that Andrew Tully actually used to own a whole chain of hotels in the New York State area, and he's able to haunt each and every one of them at any time he chooses. That could have been cool, because then we would have got a different location for this film, and it would have felt fresh at least. Now, I'm not blind to the economic realities of making a horror film like this. What I suspect Cognetti was faced with is that he had a really good deal going on this Abaddon location, and that's why he kept going back to the well with it, so to speak. Maybe this production simply couldn't afford to up sticks and find a different hotel that is at least as big and looks as spooky, maybe. Another idea for this series could have been that every new film had a slightly different title. So maybe this one could have been Hell Mansion LLC, where we see a bunch of people getting terrorised at the residence where Andrew Tully used to live. And then the next film could have been Hell Graveyard LLC, where we see the ghost of Tully terrorising the graveyard where he's buried. And then the one after that, Hell Village LLC, where his descendants are tormenting people, and so on. Every film could have been different, but still the same Hell House brand, if you see what I mean. Because when I was watching this, I just felt like the Abaddon was completely played out. Like, very few of the scares were having any kind of effect on me, in all honesty. And the documentary structure as well, I feel, is very tired at this stage. Just this idea that something will happen with the Abaddon and we'll have another documentary to cover it. And who is this bearded bloke who turns up in every damn documentary? I don't even know who he is. He's just there getting interviewed, and he's so dramatic as well. He's like, and then when it came to the dress rehearsal night, well, nobody could have predicted what happened next. Well, yes, they could, actually, because we've been through this 1,000 times before, and people do not learn that you avoid the Abaddon. I did like a lot of the characters in this, though. I especially liked Vanessa, who is the presenter of the documentary crew. So she's going around the hotel interviewing various people, and you can tell that she's really trying her hardest to make a good job of this, to establish herself in what is a very difficult industry. Good character, easily the best female character in this entire series so far, which is ironic given that this is by far the worst film. Some of the characters who work for Russell Wynn are very effective as well. I liked Molly, I think that's her name, a blonde woman who takes a bet to go down into the basement at one point. I think a lot of her lines of dialogue are very sharp. And I really liked the fat, campy guy. I can't remember his name, but I really liked that guy's character. And I'll mention one more. So there's a British thespian guy. The other cast members take the mickey out of him because he's such a serious actor, but he was kind of cool as well. So several really good characters. The trouble is, one of the main ones, Russell Wynn, is really irritating. I didn't like this guy. He's very eccentric and cold. And I just found myself completely turned off by him whenever he was on the screen, and unfortunately he appears a lot in this movie. There's some really bizarre scenes involving him, like when he's in the pub and we just see him ordering wine for like 2 or 3 minutes. It's like, why are we watching this eccentric just say these strange things in front of other people? So I did not like that character at all. You'll realise all the way through this film that this guy could go either way come the end. He could turn out to be a good guy or a bad guy, but whichever avenue he went down, I knew that I would still have the same dislike of him anyway, no matter what the result. By the way, the whole Lake of Fire subtitle is hugely misleading. It's bordering on false advertising, actually. You'll get an image in your head of a massive lake and fires spreading all across it, a bit like what you get at the end of Phenomena. But what actually happens in this movie is a very small fire breaking out in the basement at one point, and it's kind of like a portal to hell, but it certainly does not feel anything like what you would have expected from that title. I think they should have called the film Hell Night Insomnia, and at least that would have been in keeping with the story. And I think it's got a bit of a ring to it. It sounds kind of cool. You know, if you go into this place, then you are going to get insomnia, because it's not like you're going to be able to sleep while you're being terrorized, kind of a thing. Or at least that would be the case if we were still playing by the rules of the second movie. Even the clown doesn't seem to be having a good time this time around. He is in this, so for the third time running, he makes an appearance, or several appearances, but there's only one time in the film here where I thought he gives a really good scare. It felt to me, watching this, like even the clown was bored of still being in the Abaddon Hotel at this point. Imagine if we had a different location and the clown had suddenly appeared in that. Now that would have been freaky. It would have been a bit like in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies when the dog just magically changes continents and nobody knows how he did it. I don't want to completely spoil the ending for people who have not seen this, but I do feel that we see way too much of what's going on when the murder and the chaos happens. So we've got black-robed figures running around murdering people. and the camera just lingers too much on their wanton acts of violence. It's like Cognetti sees this as some kind of treat for us for following the series all the way to this point, but I found the more vague approach of the first movie to be a lot better, where you didn't really see a lot during all the confusion. You got less, but you were actually getting more, to use a kind of cliche, I suppose. We get some returning characters from the original Hell House, but that didn't do a lot for me. It's not like these are beloved horror characters and it's great to see them again. I'm not sat there thinking, oh, it's so-and-so from the first movie. No, I'm just not. Like, if you watch the first Hell House, it's a great exercise in found footage horror filmmaking, sure, but it's not a film about good characters, you know. So when they turn up again in this film, my reaction is more along the lines of, oh, it's those people again. I guess they couldn't find any other work after the first one, and now they've been bribed with $100 to come and appear in this one. How nice. They'll be able to put the electric on this month. The final scene where you see a lot of them in the afterlife is also very misguided. It's like, why are we watching this? I don't care what happens to them after they're dead. Like, this whole film is a big misstep. Apart from some good characters, and I mean the new characters who turn up in this, not the old ones. Aside from that, it just feels very tedious, very played out. We're just regurgitating what's already been done, and I really hope that the fourth one does something different. Please let me know in the comments that the fourth one is at least going to try something different than what this film tries to do, because this was a very disappointing experience. Right, it's time to get to the bag of terror so I can show you what score I'm going to give Hell House 3 Lake of Fire. Here's the bag. So we've got 1.5 Michael Myers carving knives out of 5. A pretty dismal score, to be honest. And just to recap, I gave 3.5 to the first movie and 4 to the second movie. So this is a massive drop-off. Extremely disappointing, and I can only keep my fingers crossed that there is some kind of rebound with the next one. Right, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back again soon. Bye-bye. Oh, and if you want to follow me on X, I'm on there under the Midnight Woodsman, exactly the same as my YouTube name. Okay, bye for now.